Greetings, fellow Armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Welcome to the show, which comes with guaranteed creativity and a forecast of inspiration. It's blue skies ahead. Time to go Ridestormin! All right, that's right, folks. It's Ridestormin. It is the brand new show on the So You Want to Be an Imagineer podcast channel. It is our new flagship Armchair Imagineering podcast. What do you know? The channel that actually has Imagineering in the name is going to be doing some Imagineering type stuff. What a concept. We have Aid March in the comments. Happy to have you on board, man. It says this will be a great discussion. Looking forward to it. It seems like a great series idea. Yeah, indeed. Way back in the day, we tried to do a show called Park Builders Unite. And I think the problem with that show is that doing a whole park in the form of a podcast or, in the case of what we were trying to do, we'd be like, okay, well, crap, we've gone on for 3 hours and we have like half the park. Let's do a part 2 on this first park. And that was just not sustaining itself. So instead, Dragon, what my goal is for Ridestormin is, sometimes it can be attractions, sometimes it can be land, sometimes it can be restaurants. Whatever sort of ideas hit our fancy, and also I'm imagining we're going to probably put the poll to good use to come up with some of these topics as well. I've already got a few ideas for, potential poll options there. I think maybe a public poll will determine the next one. Hey, Pink Pearl, I'm glad you're actually here for this because, we're talking through some movies that I imagine you're a big fan of, if I know you. So, and coming up with inspiration. We've got the bug of inspiration, and we're going to talk through it. So, Dragon, you are a massive fan of Coco, and I'm a massive fan of Coco too. But you know what movie I'm an even bigger fan of than Coco, and yes, I'm going to outright say it.
Well, go on.
Encanto. I mean, Coco is wonderful. It's wonderful. It's awesome. It honestly probably has Encanto beat when it comes to world building and pathos. But man, Encanto is something it's so everything that I ever wanted it to be, and I love it. And I think it's leagues better than something like Moana, and I know those are fighting words. Dragon, I just rewatched Moana, and it pretty much affirmed me, like, yeah, this is, it's a pretty decent, like, princess adventure movie, but there's not really a ton of stuff that Pink Pearl, I know what you mean about seeing Encanto way too many times. It's pretty much my therapy movie at this point. So suffice to say, Dragon, when Coco first came out, there was a lot of rumors that Coco was going to move into the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot. And honestly, with Encanto being the big smash that it is, maybe being, I would say, the biggest kind of pop culture smash since the original Frozen, as far as Disney movies go. Let's see. Although Norway managed to transition from Maelstrom to Frozen, yeah, and that's the thing, Aid March. I want to make it clear that. With these pavilions that we're going to be pitching, it's still going to be a Mexico pavilion for Coco and then a Colombia pavilion for Encanto. Obviously, much like Norway, most, if not all, of the pavilion itself is going to have the IP attached to it. But, that's what Disney's doing nowadays. And Dragon, you threw this out there as well, but I think it'd be really fun to also do an Italy thing for Luca at some point.
Yeah, it's basically a Porto Rosso overlay for the Italy.
And Italy is definitely a pavilion that I don't quite know off the top of my head if there's an expansion pad near Italy, but it needs something, man. Like, it feels weird that there's an Italy pavilion and no gondola ride. That's what I'm saying. All right.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on Brazil now that they own Blue Sky. Oh, Rio. Yeah, can you imagine a Rio pavilion in Epcot? Oh, dear. I mean, I think an actual Brazil pavilion would be wonderful, but I don't know. I want to be in the eventual Brazil. Yeah, that's a good idea, Aid March. I like that. I can sign off on that. I can sign off on it. And I will say that, Dragon, I don't have to say the word because when we're talking Epcot, I can just refer to our fine feathered trio as the Grand Fiesta Tour.
Cop out. Such a cop out.
But Dragon, suffice to say, the Grand Fiesta Tour is my favorite ride in Epcot. I could care less about Test Track. I could care less about Soarin'. I know Living with the Land has a big cult following. Frozen is great, and I think Frozen is probably the best attraction just as far as the modern day technology goes. Haven't been on Ratatouille yet. Grand Fiesta is what I go to Epcot for. It's literally the ride for me. But that doesn't say that doesn't mean we can't improve it, Dragon. So we're gonna make it better, to paraphrase a favorite game show of mine. All right. I can eat a taco on a boat, says Pink Pearl. God. Okay, so Dragon, do you want to go ahead and start with like the exterior? Are you keeping the temple?
I mean, it's kind of something that would be really hard to get rid of, Tiki. So yes, I'm keeping the temple. I can't really.
I'm not keeping the temple.
Wait, really? How do you not? Well, I mean, your thing. That's the thing. I was wondering how you were going to approach yours, given that.
I'll tell you. Do you want me to tell you how I'm approaching mine?
So how the heck do we do this thing? So how are we going to start this off?
Okay, well, let's start with like what our courtyards are going to look like, because of course in the Mexico Pavilion you have, the temple opening up into the courtyard. Well, Dragon, let me just start here with me, because I feel like this is an important image for my Encanto Pavilion to you kind of need to wrap your mind around this. So, as you can guess, with Encanto, the pavilion is gone, and the pyramid is gone, and in its place is, of course, the casita.
Casita!
And, Dragon, I mean, the casita is just, it's one of those locations that just feels made for a Disney park, because there's so many little practical effects and interactive elements and things they can do. I mean, basically anything you can imagine as far as the house, quote unquote, coming to life is on display here. Like one of my favorite shots in the whole movie is, during the big Columbia number in the first act, when the little girl is, on her father's shoulders and she's being carried into the courtyard, and the tiles on that archway are just dancing to the rhythm. There's just something about that, the look in her eyes, and oh, it's so cool. I want to replicate that. Dragon, there's going to be a whole bunch of interactive elements with the casita. And as you walk in, you see the essentially what I'm calling the foyer of the house, which is like the main area with as long as Mexico Pavilion or Columbia Pavilion. I am talking, Pink Pearl, I am talking about replacing the Mexico Pavilion with a Columbia Pavilion.
Yeah, so folks, just to probably preface it, a lot of this, just real quick. So again, so Tiki's taken on Encanto, if you haven't picked up on that already, and I've taken on Coco. So that's kind of how our breakdowns going here. I believe essentially we're approaching the same land, and basically you're laying out your iteration, then I'll lay out mine or something such.
I'm gonna pass it to you quickly. I'm just laying out like my the lay of the land, if you will.
Okay.
So I riot in Mexico leaving. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Pink Pearl. That this is just a brainstorming exercise. So Dragon, the big thing for my courtyard is I want to have an effect that's essentially a giant scrim that looks into Antonio's room with the big treehouse. And I want the big treehouse to essentially act as how the volcano acts in the pavilion now, essentially be a weenie to draw you towards the back of the pavilion. Can't replace an original pavilion. Well, we're doing it, guys. This is what Ridestormin is. It's, in case you can't pick up on the title, it's rides plus brainstorming. It's literally just a brainstorming session. So, So what do you think of that, Dragon? Just the whole idea of like there's kind of like a scrim, maybe about 75% of the way back into the room. And as you walk closer to the scrim, you can see more and more into Antonio's room.
Well, I mean, just conceptually, walking into the pavilion, at first glance, I can easily see, like, okay, so it's you're inside Casita, which of course has like the wonderful kind of design about it, where each room, very much links to a character. And inside that room, particularly like Antonio's room, you have like a nigh infinite space. And honestly,
Exactly.
And in reference specifically to Antonio's room does very much look like kind of the very waterlogged center of the Mexico Pavilion. So
right, exactly.
So
exactly.
I mean, in concept, I absolutely love where your head's at in terms of the entryway and how that's all lining up. So that sounds good.
Okay, really quick, Dragon. I think let me ask you this: how much stuff do you have in yours beyond the main e-ticket?
Okay, so that's the thing. So obviously, Epcot is not my first language. Let me put it to you that way. I have. I think Epcot was the one Disney park in Florida I never went to personally. Never. So,
you would have gone there if they had Frozen.
Well, of course, now, but this is like years ago. So I'm talking like at Frozen. Like honestly, if there was been like a year or two later, perhaps, and still it wouldn't have had it there.
Hey, I missed Great Movie Ride by a matter of months.
Tragic, utterly tragic.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, obviously I'm more of the Epcot expert in the room, and I kind of know like the nooks and crannies, if you will. So
yeah, you've had the
Dragon. I'm trying to get this is the only caveat I will say with my layout. I'm trying to make the layout as accurate to what's already there as I can. The only caveat is that with the dark ride that I'm going to be pitching, the big e-ticket, it's definitely going to be using more space than just the Grand Fiesta Tour footprint. And I assume that there's just going to be some expansion space in the back. So that's the only caveat. Other than that, I'm trying to stick as close to the original layout as I can.
All right. So what I was saying. So basically, again, I'm not familiar with the nooks and crannies of Epcot because unfortunately, I have not walked the land. I've done as much research as I can from kind of a periphery, basically from POVs and stuff, and just the layout as I can. So basically, what I'm working with here is essentially as practical as an overlay, I guess, as I can. And I still think I'm missing some of the extra stuff. I have basically the core stuff. So yes, definitely the.
I can help you with some of the extra stuff. We can brainstorm that together if you're missing different components.
I mean, I don't think I might be. I learned this way. I mean, the specifics, like if there
Did you come up with something for Casa De Tequila?
Wait, do you mean the Santa Angel Inn, or do you mean?
No, I mean the Santa Angel Inn. I mean Casa De Tequila.
Well, I mean, I have like one. Let me this way: for the outside stands from the the pyramid, I have like a few like additions, less like complete overhauls. Just that's what I'm saying. So some of the stuff I've spiced up, and the majority of it is like I've just kind of overlaid on top of things, just trying to be kind of pragmatic. And I don't think they're going to like completely change. They'll completely change like a storied exterior like that for our purposes. But then again, Ridestormin, you took the leeway. I didn't. You were braver than I.
Fair enough.
But so my point is, so the problem for mine is that Coco, very clearly Disney's next move. That they're basically one Grand Fiesta Tour away from just completely retheming it to Coco anyways, because if you see the interiors dating back to last year, apparently, the inside is practically all Coco already. Practically. It's a few things away, at least from the POVs I've seen, like the most recent thing I've seen. So bear that in mind. So let me so just in terms of the exterior, let me start there. So exterior, with the Mesoamerican, kind of pyramid temple exterior. So the gimmick I'm going with is, okay, this is essentially the De La Cruz Mausoleum, and it's kind of a mix between
That's great.
So essentially, we're kind of in that post-Coco space right now, kind of like before the movie, but we're kind of like mainly bridging on the epilogue of Coco. That's kind of where we're at with this. So it's the De La Cruz Mausoleum / the graveyard in Coco. So basically what I've done is the exterior, we still have the steps and everything. We maybe dress it up, maybe add a little bit of an end to both sides to make it look a little bit more mausoleum-y. But essentially, what you have with the stairs and everything that are kind of, the pyramid steps that are there, on top of the steps are offerenda photos and marigolds. And essentially, it's a giant offerenda. And on the offerenda, you have, the Rivera family photo and probably a few other families, and also Easter egg, the family photos of Imagineers. Of Imagineers
nice.
who have passed, perhaps, a little kind of tribute.
I like that. I like that.
So a little something there. And again, pretty much, let me put it this way. Put simply, the biggest addition to all this, just to accentuate the Coco theme, marigolds everywhere.
Totally.
Like everywhere. If it could snow marigolds without gumming up the ride works, it would do it. All right, so do we go inside, or do you still want to, do you want us to cover everything outside, or
yeah, let me lay out what's going on my outside, because I didn't really cover a lot with my ideas. So basically, I just have two pretty simple ideas. All right.
Okay.
I have a bakery, obviously themed to Julieta, on the outside, and that's probably going to be roughly where the margarita stand is now. And then I'm going to have Abuela's Colombian family feast, and that's going to be where the main restaurant overlooking the lagoon is now.
Do you have the table set up like Encanto?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
And so those are the two outdoor things. There's not really a lot else to the outdoors. I don't know. Maybe we can have some Easter eggs, maybe some donkeys here and there, maybe some animals. Just little bits of theming just to kind of set the mood. But what do you have on your outside?
All right. Well, I guess just jumping to the outside stuff. I mean, mainly the two additions I really have just to the outside stuff that is there. With the margarita thing. The drinks, basically the way the drinks would be poured, there'd be something special. There'd be a special instruction with the cast member, kind of like your school bread moment almost. So basically, they would maybe have an additional drink. I don't know if you'd be like a cerveza or whatnot, but like a tequila or whatever. And an additional drink that is not just margarita. You'd have any drink that is hors. It would be you'd have a toast. Basically a toast, like something the guy says after the bartender will say after he pours it for you, saying, "I'd move heaven and earth for you, amigo."
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so
that's fun.
So I'm just saying, with the spirit of that's some morbid stuff. Get a little bit of morbid humor in there, a little bit. Also, there would be a chorizo stand. Additionally, I don't know where that would be, but
naturally, just don't choke on it.
That's what I'm saying. There'd be a sign and a Heimlich maneuver.
There should totally be a sign.
It'd be like a skeletonized version of the Heimlich maneuver and everything. It was just like your chorizo. Don't choke on it.
Oh God, that's great.
So yeah, that's basically my additions to the outside. So nothing too extensive. Just we'd definitely have a chorizo stand and probably the whole move heaven and earth for you, amigo. So
the big dragon, if you don't know, Casa De Tequila is arguably the best bar in all of Walt Disney World. Probably the biggest fan favorite bar in all of Walt Disney World. It's a tiny little hole in the wall, but it's amazing, and they sell the best goddamn margaritas I've ever had. And that will be converted into Bruno's Hideaway.
But Tiki, we don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, we'll talk about Bruno. Also, I'm going to set this up in the land. Yes, always a long line, Aid Marching, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. I'll set this up in the land as far as the story goes. So you know how the townspeople gather to celebrate everyone in the family getting their gifts when they come of age.
Yes, a very eerily symbiotic relationship of, hey, you're obligated with protecting us.
So essentially, this would be the whole pavilion would essentially be themed to Bruno's welcome back party.
Okay.
So it's kind of like how in the Frozen Ever After ride, they're opening up the kingdom for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that. And we will talk about Bruno. Don't you worry. But yes, I like the idea that Bruno, he doesn't want to, he's like, this idea for me, it's almost kind of like a meta sort of psychological reasoning where he's not quite ready to give up on his space in between the walls just yet, so he's kind of converted it into a little speakeasy.
Nice.
Yeah, and of course we got some rats in the background as Easter eggs, little, barely animatronic rats.
It would be great. It'd be great if they did like a Ratatouille crossover between.
Oh yeah! Oh, totally. Oh, I'm taking that idea, Dragon, and I am stealing it.
It's so great. It's like just the rats that are in the kind of the Paris Pavilion. They would have just like, okay, let's see what other food they got around here.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All right, and I still think Dolores likes the rat telenovelas. Yeah. Oh, I love Dolores. Okay. Also, not much is going to change about like the actual marketplace vibe of the middle of the pavilion. It's still very much going to be like themed to quote unquote townspeople selling their wares. I guess there's no real in-universe explanation for why they're all selling shit, but hey, it's Disney. We gotta make money.
We got to have money.
We've got to have money.
See, the only thing that would make that meme better is given that it would be the same voice, is if someone did like a reworked version of that scene with Frollo. It's like, sir, why are we collecting taxes? Why are we taxing the people of Notre Dame? Because we've got to have money, Lieutenant.
Sir, why are we completely ruining the guest experience at the Disney parks?
Because
we've got to have money.
Yep.
Right. Anyways.
With Chapek in a funny hat. Okay.
Also, Dragon, I am going to be introducing a second, smaller tier ride in addition to my big trackless e-ticket dark ride. And that ride is going to be a family coaster called Antonio's Jaguar Jog.
Jaguar Jog?
Well, Jaguar Jog.
Okay, first of all, wait, is it Jaguar Jog, or are you saying Jaguars and there's like a wire that is involved in the ride?
No, I'm saying like it's just kind of like a standard kids coaster.
Oh.
But it's kind of themed to the scene where the Jaguar's taking Antonio around his room.
I mean, no, that sounds cool. I'm just puzzled by the jog. Like, really, a jog?
Yeah, it's a jog. I don't know. I thought it rolled off the top.
No. It's nice. I'm just
the Jaguar jog.
Jaguars don't really jog though, but it's fine.
Yeah, what do you want from me?
A better name for starters, but go on.
All right. Okay, Dragon, set up more of the inside of yours.
Okay, so inside the pavilion. So you take the twilight lighting that's kind of built into the place. I'm just saying, let's go full black lights. We got a black light sky, and on the black light sky, we're projecting alebrijes flying around. Like Dante, Pepita, and more. So we cover up that volcano. Forget that, the most ambitiously, get rid of that volcano. It makes no sense. We don't need it there. You know what we're going to replace it with? Marigold Flower Bridge in all its glory.
Oh, hell yeah. Of course.
Looks great. So, again, as I said before, the when in doubt, add marigolds. They're kind of around the place to kind of emphasize Coco. But also the skull design. Working the skull design kind of naturally into the architecture of the kind of the village, the interior village setup. Detail I'm proud of. Pixar themed pinatas all around the place, much like the Easter egg.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Film.
Yeah, that's really good Easter eggs. Yeah,
Buzz, for sure. Woody, for sure. Mike, Sully, which we saw. In addition, we probably had some Nemo in there, maybe some Jack. Who knows? So, in terms of some merchandise, and again, this is what I'm saying. So when I looked into the thing, unfortunately, folks, when I looked into it, I had all these concepts in my mind, and I realized, oh god, they're really, it's literally all but like the fine print for them making the Coco transition. So most of my work is already done. There's only so much I can add here, because I was thinking about all this Coco merchandise. Like, well, we got to kind of scale it back because I've already done half of it already, because they're cashing in on that Coco gold. So. Anyway, so, they already have some De La Cruz, alebrijes, and statues. But in addition to De La Cruz, let's also throw some Frida Kahlo stuff in there. Yeah, let's throw some Frida Kahlo. in there. So anyways, let's see. So also, let's sell some special Rivera family shoes with some Dias de los Muertos patterns.
There you go. There you go.
Everyone could use some shoes, whether you be women love shoes. Kids, I'm sure, would love to have some kind of cool Dias de los Muertos shoes, especially around Halloween. Be cool. Also, some candy skulls, but styled specifically to the colors of the Coco posters and the logos, like the blue skulls, and a little bit, a little bit of everything. And again, basically, our town very much modeled, again, with kind of a mix between Land of the Dead and Santa Cecilia, just to kind of give it that little spin there, which already it kind of is. The San Angel Inn. So San Angel Inn, I basically have a simple gimmick applied to this. I wonder what you think of it. So basically, the food that is served in the San Angel Inn, because it is a restaurant, correct?
Yeah. The San Angel Inn is essentially serves the same purpose as the Blue Bayou at Disneyland, where the whole gimmick of it is you get to eat right next to the water as the boats of the Grand Fiesta tour go by the volcano that you love so much.
I'm just saying now, I just love the idea, just random goats just kind of going by. I'm thinking of Muppet goats going by.
Oh God.
He's doing the scream and everything. All right, no, in all seriousness. Okay, so here's the gimmick I would like to apply to the San Angel Inn in the spirit of Coco. The gimmick would be all the food that is served is repurposed ofrenda treats.
Okay, I like that.
Because remember, that when the way we get all the food, especially with perhaps, my additional thing, I don't know if there's a necessary track with it being kind of probably a year later or so, but just any way you want to slice it, hey, De La Cruz had a lot of food and offerings left over from people all around the globe that they have to do something with that. So let's just serve it in the restaurant. But in general, it's the idea, people maybe we took a little too much. Let's give back a little bit. So they turned into a restaurant, which I think is kind of nice.
All right. So just for the record, the San Angel Inn in my version does not exist and is replaced by more queue space for the e-ticket attraction.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I respect the ambition. I was going with practical, but again, I like the fantasy element there. Yeah. There's too much eating in these parks. We need more entertainment.
Aid March says, tangent. Coco is an interesting second Pixar venture in Epcot, but I really wish they would have transformed the former Wonders of Life into Inside Out. Cranium Command already was Inside Out. Yeah, indeed. He also says San Angel Inn has really gone downhill. It's all about the view. Yeah, I've never eaten there, but I literally don't think I've ever seen a single fan write good things about the actual food at San Angel Inn.
You know why? Because they haven't been the mine where the food has been repurposed from offerenda treats.
There you go. And Dragon, with the queue on my version, it's going to be pretty, it's still going to be switchbacks and stuff. There's not really going to be a lot of space for actual queue. I'm thinking at the very most, some of the queue might go into the, into Bruno's, kind of the spaces between the walls, just to give it a little bit more depth.
Okay, Tiki Gabby, what queue is this specifically for? Is this for the Grand Fiesta or the new attraction you were typing?
Well, the new attraction is replacing the Grand Fiesta tour.
Okay, so I just want to be clear because it sounds like you were saying there. Okay, so how many attractions are there with yours now?
2. There's big. We'll call it the Encanto Adventure.
Okay, there's the
and then the Jaguar thing.
Yes.
Which is basically just like a kiddie coaster. So that's really...
And the kiddie coaster, probably not the queue. So again, absolutely, this Encanto Adventure is the Bruno thing you're setting up right now.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
Okay, so and then also because I couldn't work I wanted to work most of the family members' rooms into the ride. That was the big kind of starting point for me with the ride, was seeing all the different rooms. The one family member that I did not work in with the rooms was Julieta. And so I decided to just have Julieta's room be in the queue itself. And Dragon, not very creative, but it's another bakery.
You remind me, Julieta, was that...
the mother.
Wait,
Mirabelle's mother.
Oh, well, but you did give her a bakery, though, right?
Yes.
That's good. I really like Julieta.
Well, here's the thing. I gave her like a stand outside the pavilion, and then her actual room is more of a full-blown bakery, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, sure. I guess it works. I just wonder, like, yeah, she has to share that room with her husband, I'd imagine. But I mean, sure, bakery, cool.
Well, yeah, she has to share that room with her husband, and I imagine Felix and Peppa, it's the same situation.
Okay.
All right. Anyways, you want to talk about anything in regards to your queue?
Yes, in regards to the queue, I think you're going to like this. So the queue I would add to the Grand Fiesta Tour. Well, mine is just the Grand Fiesta Tour. Unfortunately,
I literally just still called the Grand Fiesta Tour.
I mean, look, I didn't.
I mean, it's fine if it is, but yeah, I'm curious.
That's a thing I didn't. I know how many toes I'd be stepping on in this exercise. Like, I don't know, maybe they want that. I mean, it's a party, it's kind of it's a tour still. I don't know. Anyway, could be all cutesy and called Make Mine Music, but I didn't think that was right. So
no, that wouldn't have been right.
That's what I'm saying. So I figured my point being, so I had the upsetting realization apparently that people have conceptualized what Coco attraction would replace the Grand Fiesta Tour. It lines up pretty much exactly what I pitched. Only I found out after I pitched everything. Like, what? It's like pretty much the same thing. So again, the few differences I do have would be the queue. So the queue is basically, we have one of my favorite underrated characters. Well, I don't know how underrated. One of my favorite characters from Coco. The departure agent lady, who does the border check-in for the Flower Bridge. The one that keeps bumping into Hector, keeps preventing him from crossing the bridge. You have an animatronic of her at the border check-in right before you get on the ride. And the idea is you walk up to the counter, it takes your picture, and then it does probably like a Haunted Mansion sort of effect where it projects a skull image onto you. Or basically it's like, hey, takes your picture and then shows you like what you would look like as a skeleton, which, you get seated.
Nice. I like it.
I'm open to if you have any good ideas for a name for basically what a Coco version of Grand Fiesta.
Well, I need to hear more of what your attraction actually is. Like after you lay everything out, maybe I can help you.
Okay, by all means.
Okay. Okay, so much like the actual ride itself, we start in pretty much the same place, except instead of boats, Dragon, we're going to be going on trackless ride vehicles, much like in the same style of Rise of the Resistance, Pooh's Honey Hunt, Ratatouille, Mickey's Runaway Railway, etc.
Wait a minute.
What?
You mean you got rid of the little motorboats?
I got rid of the little boats. They're not motorized, but yes, I got rid of the little boats.
Not the boats! All right, go on.
Tiki, I think your pavilion promises too much enjoyment for Chapek era Disney. More drinking and shops.
I say less drinking, more shops.
I mean, Bruno's got the bar. I've got plenty of food, and the shops. Merchandise is kind of like the one thing in Imagineering that I kind of get bored by. So
No, but in all seriously, getting rid of the water thing was a good idea. It's pretty
well, cool. Yeah, considering it's like, how are you going to justify floating through the damn house?
No, that's the thing. No, seriously, it's a good pull for if you're doing Encanto. It makes excellent sense. I'm glad you did that for what you're doing there. So that's good.
So, anyways, much like how the Grand Fiesta Tour starts with that great turnaround over the waterfall or around the waterfall, or not the waterfall, Jesus, the volcano. We start there, but instead of the volcano, it's kind of like the big tree in the middle of Antonio's room. And then the tree transitions us into Isabella's room with all the roses. That's where we get a rendition of What Else Can I Do? Mirabelle's with her. She's doing the whole bring it in, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. So just, and that's one thing with my Encanto ride is it is kind of like I'm basically going off of the Frozen Ever After formula of kind of like having it be sort of like halfway a sequel, halfway kind of like a greatest hits, if you will. All right. Dragon, I think from this point, if you don't mind, I'm just going to run through my whole ride, and then you can run through your whole ride. Is that okay?
Well, mine's going to go by a lot faster, but by all means.
Cool. That's good. Okay, so then from there, we transition into a happier version of surface pressure in Luisa's room. And Dragon, you're going to like what I did with Luisa's room. So basically, when you get into the room, it's just a very bland kind of like gym looking area, right? Like there's weights and, and stuff, but not much else. But then the projection mapping kicks in, and we see that it's actually, there's a big amusement park that's just behind the, kind of like the false facade of the gym walls.
Huh.
And so basically it's like Luisa gets to just kind of be herself in this amusement park. And that's actually based on old concept art for what her room would have been.
Okay.
All right, then we go to Camillo's room, and Camillo's room is essentially, Dragon, it's an MC Escher staircase, and the staircase is kind of like Harry Potter style, or like constantly like shifting around and changing direction. We get a lot of the casita style effects with the with the actual stairs and the staircases, like kind of moving up and down to the rhythms. Then we have Dolores's room. I think that this is probably my favorite room that I came up with on my own, Dragon. Dolores's room is basically like a big room with a bunch of instruments. And you see her like maybe the most advanced animatronic in the ride, like, the Navi shaman, if you will. She's just going to town on a giant drum set. So essentially the instruments are kind of like her stress relief.
Okay.
All right. Then we enter Peppa's room. And Peppa's room is literally just the center of a tornado. Felix is trying to calm her down, and Peppa's just thinking like, clear skies. And I guess it's worth noting that all throughout this ride, everyone's kind of like, getting ready for Bruno's big day, if you will. Peppa's all stressed out about it, of course. And then finally, Dragon, we get to Bruno's room, the big kind of like Legend of Zelda temple style room. But it's all decked out. It's all colorful. There's a bunch of party streamers everywhere. And Bruno is taking center stage, and he's singing a new song written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's essentially a sequel song called There's a Lot to Say About Bruno.
It's kind of a cash-in song, but yeah.
You're damn right it's a cash-in song.
Yeah.
And Into the Unknown isn't?
I'm not disagreeing with you. What do you want me to say? I mean, if you want to perpetuate that problem, by all means.
Well, here's the thing about it, Dragon, is that I feel like the one line or the one section of song that Bruno actually gets at the end of the movie is so good and so very Lin-Manuel Miranda-esque in how, and how much flow he has to it and how quickly he goes through it. I really would like a whole song in that kind of style where he's basically just recapping, where he's been all those years, hiding out, between the walls and stuff like that, and why he's back. I don't know. I just think it'd make for a really fun song. And then finally, Dragon, we basically pull a Radiator Springs Racers, where how Radiator Springs Racers, like, you go through Radiator Springs, even though you have to walk through another version of Radiator Springs to get to that ride.
Yeah.
Well, here we're going to go through another version of like the courtyard with, with all the doors, kind of like the foyer of the house. And it's going to be basically like a big old recreation of Colombia Mi Encanto. And that's the finale. Just a bunch of townspeople, a bunch of partying, some fireworks in the background. The family's all up in the second level with Bruno intact. Bruno is proudly standing in the middle. He's just beaming because he's finally being accepted by both the townspeople and his family. It's an awesome, feel-good, happy ending, Dragon. All right. And there's my Encanto adventurer.
All right. Okay. Well, here's basically my Coco overlay of Great Fiesta Tour. So the spin I have on this, that again, remarkably similar to others apparently, but here's what mine is. So Hector and Miguel, they're basically getting Imelda back into music now that she's on board, and now the Rivera family, now that it's on the mend after what it's learned and the closure that's been gotten. So it's basically a musical tour of the land of the dead. And it's kind of a recap to Imelda about basically getting her into music through the the journey that Hector and Miguel kind of went through, kind of hitting some similar beats through there, but mainly it's kind of exploring just kind of like the landscapes that we saw in Coco. So we go through the town on Day of the Dead. We start off in Santa Cecilia, and we're seeing just the town basically on Dios de los Huertos. Again, we kind of basically our big transition point is through the cemetery and kind of the De La Cruz, mausoleum memorial thing.
Yeah.
And again, we're seeing like the offerendas and the grave sites and the candles and everything that's just kind of giving you the ambiance, and that's basically I believe takes us through the tunnel. And then we're off to the races. So again, like now it's the idea too is it's now like the defamed De La Cruz and the celebrated Hector. Let's see. So the idea too is like Frida Kahlo. She's going to pop up a little bit more, and she's working on her next masterpiece. And basically, each of the projected.
I really like the idea of using Frida Kahlo. By the way.
Also, there's a joke I do have built into this that you will not find anywhere else, where it's Hector, basically, when Frida Kahlo was first revealed, it's Hector in the Frida Kahlo dress again, doing a fake out, and then, I apologize. That was a lie.
That's great.
And then Frida Kahlo is like, she walks in and says, hey! Anyway, so that's basically, the idea is, so to put it simply, the ride is pretty much, it's the same ride, only we now have Coco animation kind of character interactions that are on the projected kind of screen cutouts that usually
mind-blowing. No, I'm just kidding. Dragon, realistically, this is exactly what we would get.
That's what I'm saying. So I was just, so I didn't realize how predictable it was until later, but it was like, it's pretty much, this is what seems logical to me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's what they would do. So,
you know what? I like the fact that like I went a more blue sky direction, you went a more kind of realistic direction. So I think that works. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, so basically in lieu of the Caballeros just kind of tearing it up and just doing their thing, and Donald getting the shenanigans, it's like okay, so we're showing Imelda stuff, and we get to bask in like the wonderful Elena Ubach.
Now, let me ask you this. Are there going to be any big, like, set pieces within the Land of the Dead? Because that's such a great environment.
Well, yes, there are, actually.
Okay.
So, that's what I'm saying. So, you're working your way through, you're kind of like, again, much like the progression of the film, we start off with a Frida Kahlo. We start with the grave, and then we get the Kahlo. I didn't put, like, the office in there because it isn't quite built into the land. It's generally the background being Land of the Dead once we see, like, kind of the town after we get out of the tunnel. So, and again, the skull architecture is kind of being built into the place more, very much looking like the Land of the Dead. It's basically the exterior you kind of see from the outside of the ride, but just from the inside. Let's see. So, the cave area, for example, it's the cenote pit. It's like it's the water, the water dripping cave that they were thrown down into.
Oh yeah, totally.
So that one's absolutely there. You have Dante and Pepita projected on the screens, like around that point to kind of save them, but not to save them again, but essentially just flying around there in reference to that sort of event. Let's see. So and again, this is like kind of during the it's like almost like an edutainment sort of vibe you're getting here, just about like kind of Land of the Dead 101, how it works and everything. Just kind of more so through kind of like the musical side of things that again.
I mean, I like that, and I think it fits Epcot.
Yeah, and again, like what we're kind of seeing through the screens, like we get some cool dancing. We get again we I tried looking this up again. I completely blanked on this one element from the Coco movie. It's like, do you remember what we call the crow thing? Like, we make like the caca, it's kind of the equivalent to a Peter Pan crow noise. But we do like the Mexican, like, the
Oh
the sound.
man.
Remember, like the whole, like, it begins with a C, but I'm blanking on what it is because I'm thinking
Oh
of
God,
crow.
it's on the tip of my tongue. I know
Right?
exactly what you're talking about.
See,
Yeah.
this is the problem because remember, it's like it begins with a C, like the like the call. They call you make like little when you start the song.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
See, if Pink Pearl's still around, please tell us if you know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so essentially, we have like a kind of recap of that. Again, in reference to that, Hector, and here's a bit I'm proud of. Hector sings. He sings a little bit of "Remember Me" to the now aged Coco.
Oh.
Little bit there on one of the screens, just a little. That's what I'm saying. A little light recapping of. I don't want the whole thing to be remember me left and right, but to again celebrate the movie, you have the different variations of Remember Me. So you have the tender ones, like a little light, little tender one to aged Coco at the end of the movie. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like now, past Coco is what I mean. Like, the very end of the movie. So now on the other side, then you have the mariachi. There are mariachis built into the screen, so like we do like our mariachis, man. The ones that like we bonded with during the during the movie. Like like chorizo, that whole thing.
So, yeah, exactly.
We have mariachis, basically, with the festive version of Remember Me playing. Like the now non-De La
Are you gonna
Cruz.
have like the whole ride? Is it gonna be like different versions of Remember Me?
Well, I only was able to fit in 2, and I imagined just that's the thing. I didn't really double down on Miguel having an iteration of Memory because that only has the power.
I mean, that's totally fine. If you have like a slow version and an energetic version, that's cool.
Yeah, I'd like to think there's like a Muzak version of it, like around the gift shop. I like to think that, but I can't guarantee that. Right. But yeah, definitely have like the festive,
like a
version
a smooth jazz version.
Exactly. I'd like to think there's like
coffee house jazz version of Remember Me.
Sure. So anyway, all of this builds to, again, much like the attraction itself, it builds to they have 3 excellent like Frozen tier animatronics of Hector, Miguel, and Imelda on stage, basically performing at the talent competition from the movie. So that's what the stage has been turned into. It's basically either doing preferably it would be a new song, but worst case scenario it would be either Poco Loco, but Imelda probably taking the lead on it, or the Proud Corazon song that's at the end of Coco. So one of those songs, or preferably something new, if we can have like everything. So the exit, you exit through De La Cruz's tomb, which now at the end, much like you have like the 3 Caballeros on the screen, you have basically something like X out like De La Cruz, and now this is like the Rivera family or something. Like, yeah, we're visiting this history in the positive sense. Yeah. And that's it.
Okay. So Aid March really likes our proposals. He said, both your proposals sound fun and could fit into Epcot. Certainly a better idea than Moana's Journey into Water, which would have no place in Epcot. Yeah, especially in Future World or whatever's like left of Future World, like the bloated corpse of Future World at this point.
See, the weird thing is that Poseidon Adventure ride that's in Onzo Adventure could probably use that Moana ride, but
probably, yeah.
But again, for obvious, very very obvious reasons, that just wouldn't work.
All right. Dragon, I'm trying to do some English to Spanish translation to come up with a good name for you. So, do you want to give some final thoughts?
Well, I mean, I guess just, final thoughts. I mean, just on the whole, I mean, again, I wish mine were, I wish I had a little bit more room to play with in terms of, I mean, had I known in advance, like literally everything I pitched has kind of already been kind of figured out. It's really kind of shook my confidence on it. But overall, though, I mean, I plugged the pieces in. I think I have something that's kind of, I hopefully kind of in honor of Coco, and just kind of brings it to something, the most easy, most doable way, which already seems like they're on a track of doing. Literally is one attraction away from. Let's go with the full Coco overlay. Why not? Let's just do it already. Everyone wants it. Okay. Again, I agree with the earlier sentiment. I forget if it was Aid Marsh or I believe it was Pink Pearl who said, like, yeah, let's just swap. If if we make Coco the Mexico Pavilion, let's just take the Caballeros to Brazil. Let's just do that.
I mean, I do like that idea, and honestly, they are more like Brazilian characters, especially especially the two of them that are actually ethnic.
I'd like to think that they're making that realization now. They're just dragging their feet on the changeover with why don't we just go with the change for two yahoos who are basically going to pitch their versions of it.
Greg, I'm going to throw out a name for you for your ride. All right.
All right. What do you got?
Coco's Viaje Musical.
Viaje Musical. What can I ask?
Which translates into Coco's music voyage.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Viaje Musical.
Viaje Musical.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Right.
All right. But then, we had some. In terms of a pilot, how do you think the pilot?
Future World is like a war zone right now. It totally is Aid March. It's ridiculous. Dragon, apparently there's like really long lines just to get into the stupid Club Cool place.
Really?
Yeah. You know what place I'm talking about, right? That place that gives you like the Coca-Cola samples.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Panchito is like the only Brazilian Disney character, indeed. I straight up I know that Rio exists, but I totally think they could do a Disney movie set in Brazil.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Anyway, so for a pilot episode, Dragon, I think this went quite well. I don't think we went too long on it. I don't think we were very scattered on any of our thoughts. I think it came together. I think with the pilot, I know Dragon has some suggestions on the intro and outro that we'll probably remedy. So the intro and outro will probably not be exactly the same one that was here. And I also think we maybe should figure out a little bit of a more cohesive structure to it. But other than that, I think this is a pilot well done.
Okay.
All right. So big thanks to Aid March and Pink Pearl for coming on. I like this concept a lot, guys. Looking forward to more Ridestormin going forward. Indeed. And next episode of Ridestormin is going to be we're going to put up a poll so you can vote on what concept you would like to see us tackle. So, look forward to that. All right. So, well, folks, as the blue skies make way for a magical sunset, the next Ridestormin forecast calls for a greater, bigger, better tomorrow than ever before. Have a good night, folks, and remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. He choked on some chorizo!